probably all set.
Hey, how's it going, guys? So welcome. I'm here with Bob Pizzella of RMS Mortgage, and I'm starting kind of a new mini-series called Millennial Mondays, but it's really geared towards any first-time home buyer. So we just we know like it's a very involved process. There's a lot going on, but we don't want to overwhelm you with that. So basically the point of this series is to kind of break it down into some smaller, more digestible pieces for you to understand. So I think, a lot of people come to me and ask, I'm interested in buying a house. Where do I start? I get a lot of leads on the internet, like through Zillow. People, want to go see a house. But they don't really have the first piece of the puzzle in place yet, which is getting a pre-approval. So we have this little home buying process infographic here, which we'll post up on Facebook later, so you have this to reference, but it's just a great visual that walks you through the process and really helps you understand, the order of the way to do things. But for the sake of this one, the pre-approval part of Millennial Monday, basically the first step here is to meet with a loan officer.
Absolutely.
It's exciting to go online and look at houses, and that's kind of where people usually start.
Right.
And then they want to request showings, but they don't have that piece of the puzzle in place yet. So Bob, if someone was looking to buy a house, they come to you to get pre-approved, kind of walk us through the steps that they would take and what to expect throughout that process.
Well, it's exactly right, Seamus. People want to come and do the pre-approval first because it gives them the litmus test, so to speak, of what they can qualify for.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's kind of like one or two things happen. People do their due diligence and get all organized and know all of their figures and know exactly what to go look for, or they're driving around on a nice Sunday afternoon, maybe up, stopping at the farm stand, see an open house, get all excited,
Yep.
Get all worked up, want to make an offer, and they haven't done their homework, so to speak.
Right.
So going through the pre-approval process enables us to first take a look at their credit,
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost. So if people have time on their side, which they can really do themselves a favor by having an organized pre-approval process in place, they may be at a credit score break that doesn't enable them to get the best interest rate, as an example.
Sure.
So if we have some time, we can help them improve that.
Kind of put a good game plan together to get them in the best position possible, because
Exactly.
there's so many different loan programs out there.
Exactly.
Everything's kind of situational. It depends on where you're at financially to, kind of determines which program you're going to fit into best.
Well, something that people have to realize is that the credit or the interest rate world is credit score driven. Mm-hmm. So the better the interest rate is, the more money they're eventually going to save themselves,
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to get a better interest rate, lower monthly payment, etc. So it could be really super easy with the steps to get your credit score up.
Mm-hmm.
But if you paint yourself in a corner and all of a sudden you have to make an offer on a property and you don't give yourself the time,
Yeah.
you have that disadvantage.
Right.
The other thing with the pre-approval process is, one of my first questions to people is like, what's your goal? Like, what are we trying to do here?
Sure.
Like, have you talked about how much you want to spend per month?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what most people do is they use their current rent figure as a frame of reference.
Sure.
So I'll be like, well, how is that rent payment? Do you have a lot of month left at the end of the rent, or are you squeaking to get through
Yeah.
on that?
You can kind of determine a level of comfort from there.
Exactly. It's like, how much fun are you having? Can you have a little less fun and maybe put a little more of that money towards your housing?
Right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, or vice versa.
Right.
So, and also if they are going around, they're going to these open houses, they're getting excited and they don't really have their ducks in a row. Like any seller that's working with a great agent, they're going to want to see a pre-approval letter submitted with an offer. So, if you kind of get yourself in a better position to compete with, because the way the market is right now, it's crazy, right? Multiple offers.
Totally.
A house comes on the market towards the end of the week. They hold off showing till the open house. So you really want to, you're not submitting an offer with a pre-approval letter, they're not even going to consider you.
Right, you're not really giving yourself a fighting chance if you don't have your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
So, another thing that people don't understand is just how easy a pre-approval process is. It's really 5 or 10 minutes on the phone, and I gather all what I refer to as the personal invasive information. Get right down to the nitty-gritty, date of birth, how much do you make, how much money do you have in the bank, and we assemble this information, and we push it through what's called a 1003, or a uniform residential loan application, and it goes into the system, and it pulls credit, it matches debt to income, and it creates some ratios, it looks at credit score, and it very quickly we can get right to the heart of the matter and get people situated.
So with that information, you could kind of get just a really good picture of their personal financial situation.
Exactly.
And figure out how much they qualify for,
right,
what loan programs might work best for them.
There's a ton of programs out there, and not always, but oftentimes with the first-time homebuyers, the housing programs, New Hampshire Housing, Maine Housing, Mass Housing, are awesome programs because they can do as little as 3% down payment and have no monthly PMI, which is a huge thing.
Yeah.
So instead of putting money towards a PMI payment, they can put more of that money towards a higher qualification number and get more house.
Yep.
So I always try to look at that first, and that's a situation where someone may not have a credit score to get into that program, but we can help them. So
the mortgage application process, is that something where they go online through like a portal and kind of fill out a form, or?
It can absolutely be done that way. I'm not a fan of it.
Okay.
Only because inaccurate information gets pushed into the system.
Sure.
People are obviously welcome to do that, rmsmortgage.com, or, email me, bob.pazzeller@rmsmortgage.com. But I always like to review the information for accuracy.
Yeah.
A lot of times people don't, even though they're simple questions, they can get confused. And we just want to make sure we have it right because, God forbid we make a mistake on something that important.
Right.
So I like to talk to everyone on the phone.
Yeah.
And then I like to meet everyone in person to just go through it.
Yeah. It's also good to establish that relationship with somebody, talk to them in person, meet with them in person.
Exactly.
It makes the whole experience a little more seamless and, a little more personable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone's really good at what they do, and I can't expect someone to know the intricacies of the mortgage industry. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces, and our goal is to make it as easy as possible.
Right.
So if we can have that face-to-face meeting and review monies and stuff like that, I can look at people and see that they understand the numbers and that kind of thing. It makes for a better transaction.
Good. So if they come to you, they go through that process, they get pre-approved, everything looks good. You issue them a pre-approval letter after that?
Yeah, it's a simple email letter after that.
Okay.
I copy the potential customer and the realtor, and the realtor, I think, they get a comfort level that we're going to be able to get it done.
Yeah.
The letter is a no-nonsense thing. We push it through automated underwriting for approval.
Right.
So it's not like, hey, it looks good. We have an automated approval.
So you got a little bit more peace of mind.
Exactly.
You know that you're going to be able to perform what the letter states, basically. So there are so many companies out there that are these, online portals, these big, huge companies that you can go on, fill out an application online, but it's still questionable about whether or not when it comes to that time, are you actually going to be able to get the loan or not. So it's nice to work with a company like RMS. They have a little more credibility in the area. It's somebody local, somebody that knows the industry, knows the market locally, and just makes you and presents you as a stronger buyer for the seller when they're considering offers. So basically, first step, home buying process here, pre-approval, contact Bob, get that process started, get a pre-approval letter. Once you've gone through that, what does it take to get a pre-approval letter? A day or two, or?
No, it takes me a 5 or 10 minute phone conversation, and then that information gets keyed in.
Okay.
If it's super critical, if they're on their way to an open house or something like that, I can
Make
have
it
it within an hour.
Okay. All right. Good. So it's worth taking an hour of your time if this is something that you're seriously considering to get in touch, get your ducks in a row, get your pre-approval letter, and then at that point you have a really good idea of where you stand financially. You can start shopping around from there. And then that's when, at that point, you find a great real estate agent, somebody like me.
Like Seamus.
Right? And then you can kind of get out and start looking at houses. You have that piece of the process behind you, and you're really, starting out your search on the right footing to move forward. So, I think, is there anything else that people should know about the pre-approval process?
I think we kind of covered it quickly, but right to the point. I mean,
Yeah.
To a point you mentioned earlier, the listing agent, the person representing the seller, is not going to really take them seriously if they haven't gone through the process.
Right.
So maybe other than driving around and enjoying an afternoon, if they're really serious about the real estate component there, they want to go through the process, and it's quick and easy. I make it as fun as it can be,
Yeah.
And
it's exciting. It's an exciting time, but
for sure.
Again, if you're serious, get this piece of the puzzle in place. And then you get to do all the fun stuff after that. Go out to open houses, schedule showings, go look at houses. That's always exciting stuff. So guys, if you have any more questions about the pre-approval process, feel free to get in touch with myself. Feel free to get in touch with Bob here. We'll set you up with some contact information, get you this infograph so you can kind of understand the process a little more, and then join us next time on Facebook Live for the next step in the home buying process.